speak, I better crack on. I mean, this is very clear that our young people have. It still says 4 minutes. I think I'm all right. So I think it's an incredibly difficult time for our young people and their mental health, and clearly the disruption caused to education is contributed towards this anxiety over exams, not being able to socialise, not to be able to do the things that they love doing. That has all contributed towards the significant increase in our young people needing mental health support. But I think it's also important that we bear in mind things like social media. I mean, just this morning we were on an Education Select Committee talking to experts about this and the impact that social media is having on young people. I mean, when I grew up, I think when I left A-levels, we had Facebook Messenger, and I had Facebook when I went to university. But imagine a situation when you're being bullied at school. Back in the day, at least you'd escape in the evenings. But if you're living in this 24-hour social media age, it can be increasingly hard to do that. So I do think that serious regulation and intervention is going to have to be made in this area. And I think we have to be open to that. I don't think we can be overly libertarian in the impact of social media on the mental health of our young people. In terms of special educational needs, when we talk about disruption caused by what we've seen in the disruption and the stop-start nature of a lot of what's happened, largely unavoidably, we must bear in mind that there's often those with special educational needs who really struggle with the transitions, and potentially their anxiety levels have been inflamed particularly highly by a lot of the uncertainty of what's been happening. But I wanted to just talk about special educational needs, because we often know that getting special educational needs right, it matters for the education of those young people and their ability to achieve in school, their ability to get a good job and get on. But we also know that if you don't get special educational needs right, it can be incredibly bad for the mental health of those individuals. Because if you feel like you're in an education setting where there isn't an understanding of your needs, how you process information, and the fact that, if you've got, a learning disability, your brain's just wired a bit differently, and I know that from my own experience. So I guess the point that I'm making is why it is so important to get young people diagnosed as early as possible, because it's only when we know what we're dealing with that you can begin to have an education system that speaks to all young people and caters for them. Because actually, if you feel like you're not being understood, if you're feeling like the education system isn't speaking to you because of your potential, we call it disabilities. I don't like to call it disabilities because I think difference is good. And actually being an unconventional creative learner, given the right support, is good. But I think moving further, and there have been some positive steps, and I do think that the Minister, who I believe is closing this debate, is making a fantastic start on this. So he deserves credit for that. But we still need to strive to go further, because getting special educational needs right isn't just important for their life chances, but also their mental health. And when we look at the fact that around 40% of those in prison have got special educational needs, because if you feel that the system is failing you, then you can understand why some feel like they want to turn against that system. And as somebody who was, I often get the violins out about my own experience, but I will mention it again. As somebody who was 12 with the reading and writing age of an 8-year-old, eyes glazed over at the back of the classroom, I felt that anger as well. So that's my point about children's mental health. Again, is it matters for all young people, but let's think about those with special educational needs, because not getting it right for their education, it's not about just their getting on in school and getting a job, but it's about their mental health also.